Hello, good evening. This is the start of the poster session for tonight's public informational hearing. The hearing itself will start at 7 p.m. This is your chance to ask questions.
So the first question is, if all this stream bed damage is being done along the I-95 corridor, lots of it in Hartford, what efforts are being made to remediate streams/rivers in our area, specifically the Gunpowder and Bush River tributaries? So a concerted effort's been made to mitigate impacts on site and in kind. Wherever possible, stream restoration is being performed within the corridor. MDTA worked with state and federal regulatory agencies as well as Baltimore and Hartford counties to identify stream restoration opportunities. One of those stream restorations that's being performed is on WIS 18A, which you'll see a little later in the presentation. And that is within within the Little Gunpowder Falls watershed. Okay, another question is this project located within a Tier 2 watershed? The answer is yes. Portions of the project are within a Tier 2 watershed, and we are working with MDE's anti-degradation division to mitigate for those impacts. We're also working with MDE's SSPRD to ensure that appropriate sediment and erosion control measures are being implemented.
Good evening, everybody. This is IT support, and we're trying to address your questions in the order that they have been written. However, I know that we've already addressed Mr. Timink's question. If that response helped you, please let us know by unlowering your hand. If not, we will come back around to you and we're going to address the questions in the order that they have been written. At this moment, I'm going to give Jonathan Goff an opportunity to speak. I'm going to unmute him and let him speak his questions, and then we can potentially address everything that he has written in the comments section. Jonathan, I have unmuted you. You're self-muted. Please feel free to unmute yourself and speak.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay, I have a few questions because I live in Hartford. I'm a resident in Hartford County. What is the actual purpose in doing this? What's the reasoning why we are disturbing the waterways in the gunpowder area and the other streams in the area? What's the whole purpose in this whole project? I mean, and the other thing is, we're hearing that they want to also put tolls in. Is this true?
My name is Dave Greenwood. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Dave.
All right, fine. Yeah, the purpose and need, the purpose is to basically make safety improvements and gain capacity improvements on 95. The express toll lanes portion will be tolled. The 4 lanes that are there now will not be tolled. We're going to widen, push those lanes to the outside and add 2 ETLs, express toll lanes, in the median, and then those lanes will be tolled. So
Okay,
you'll have a choice between. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm sorry to interrupt you because I'm not sure if you can hear me.
Go ahead. No, I can hear you. Go ahead.
So from what I gather and what you're telling me is you're going to take the express lane and you're going to actually continue that express lane from the White Marsh area up into the Aberdeen area. Is that you're going to go up that far?
No, right now we are going to move northbound, only northbound, not southbound yet. Northbound, and it'll go up to north of 24 as the next phase of improvements. Now, if
Just
we
for the
continue
express,
from there
right?
north, well, express, and then that will go up to Maryland 543 in the future, and then from 543 up to 22 would be just adding a general purpose lane. So when the program is finally completed down the road, you'll have express toll lanes from with the city line all the way up through Route 543 interchange.
Okay, it doesn't sound too bad. I'm kind of liking that myself a little bit, but now if I was to jump on, now my wife works at the hospitals downtown.
Mhm.
So, and believe me, she's
Okay.
went through enough stress as it is. We've been supporting 13 hospitals out of our house because of the COVID, with all the medical equipment. Now, she's under a lot of stress as it is. Okay. Now, she takes 95 to work from 152, just about every day. Is she going to have to pay any additional tolls if she were to jump on the regular 95 south and then coming home northbound?
No. I mean, southbound, there'll be no improvements made. She'll then go down and make the choice between the ETLs and general purpose lanes just north of 43.
Okay.
And continue down into her destination. Coming home, again, she'll have a choice of whether to use the general purpose lanes, which are non-tolled, or use the ETLs, depending on the traffic conditions and all that. There will be an exit at 152 when we're complete in 2024 at 152. So,
Okay.
she could have a choice of taking ETLs up to 152 getting off, or taking the general purpose lanes up to 152 and getting off.
So the express will have like if you get on the express lane, when you first get on the express lane from the city area, you can get off onto, I think, 24 right there, at White Marsh, and then you can also, I think that's 24, and then you can get.
No, 23.
Will you be able to 23? Right. So will you be able to get off onto 152 from the express lane from the middle?
Correct. Yes, you will.
Oh, good.
So it'll be
So,
very similar to be very similar if you were getting off at 43. You make
okay,
that left
43.
diverge up to the 43. It'd be the exact same type of orientation for 152.
Oh, that sounds kind of cool. I'm liking it. How about southbound? Can you get on an express lane on the southbound side?
Now,
Or is
those
that
are,
not?
I mean, we're gonna reconstruct the interchanges to support the southbound improvements, but the southbound lanes will not be built. They're not funded at this time.
Okay. All right. Well,
So you'll be able to pick, see if you want, you can pick those up at White Marsh. So you can
yeah,
diverge out at north of White Marsh and pick them up there,
yeah. I'm
southbound.
liking it. It sounds cool. I mean, it sounds like it's going to reduce some traffic, and get you home faster anyway. Um,
It should eliminate that transition that exists now but north of 43, where you go from 6 to 5 to 4.
See,
So
the
that's
only
the whole
problem,
intent.
right? And the only problem is between White Marsh and the Joppa Falston Route 152 exit. There's nothing in between there, so it's like almost 4 or 5 miles of just plain road with no exits. There's
Correct. And that, yeah, then there'll be no additional exits. There'll just be, be 43, you'll be able to get off there. The next
mhm.
exit will be 152. When construction is complete, you'll be able to get off at 152 just like you do now, but you'll have two choices via the ETLs or via the general purpose lanes.
That sounds pretty cool. As long as we keep the police from giving us speeding tickets on that express lane.
I
Now,
have no control over that.
I never could understand that. I mean, why are you going to put an express lane in and then you're going to sit there and give speeding tickets, on the express lane? It just doesn't make any sense to me, All
John, thank you so much for your comments. And we
right.
need to
Thank
give
you.
other people an opportunity to speak. So I'm
Okay.
going to call next on Mr. Breerwood, and I apologize if I have mispronounced anybody's names. And Bill, I have not forgotten about you. Mr. Breerwood, you are unmuted, yourself muted, so please unmute yourself and ask your questions.
Thank you. And I was kind of looking at the chart while everybody was speaking, so I may have gotten at least part of the answer. But my question was around the sound wall between East Joppa Road or Gunpowder Falls and Old Joppa Road. So just trying to get a better understanding of the timing for when that started to begin construction and complete construction.
Again, this is Dave Greenwood. That construction will start hopefully in this April 21, and will be completed in August of 2024. So we don't have within that about 3-year period, we don't have any idea right now how the contractor will build it. I suspect the noise walls will be done in concurrent with the improvements to widening, so it may go up sooner than later, but I don't know. We haven't gotten when we get the CPM schedule from the contract, we'll have a better idea of when the walls will be complete.
Yeah, and that kind of goes into the second part of my question, is the sequencing of that. Does the wall typically go up before the expansion or after the expansion? It sounds like that's still to be determined, though.
Yeah, it's still to be determined.
Does that answer all your questions, Mr. Breerwood?
Still a few open questions, but it sounds like for the information you have now, you answered as well as you could. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, next I'm going to call on Mr. Matt Crop. I apologize. I'm unmuting you. Please unmute yourself and ask your questions.
Yeah, hi. I was just, my question was about impacts to wetlands of special state concern. And I guess the other question I had related to that was I was wondering if there were any functional assessments on the wetlands that were being impacted. And I guess what I mean by that is, I think we all know as professionals, some wetlands are more valuable in terms of habitat and other issues. I was curious if there were any kind of ecological assessment completed on the value, again, the functional value of these wetlands being impacted.
Okay, so no, there are no wetlands of special state concern that are being impacted. And yes, functional assessments have been performed on all of the wetland systems. We use the New England method, which is recognized by Corps of Engineers. So any of the delineated wetlands, even, despite whether they're going to be impacted or not, there is a functions and values assessment that's performed. Did that answer your question?
Yes, I guess that does lead me to, I guess, the follow-up question of, since that they were performed, I'm assuming then the mitigation is then appropriate based off the impacts to the functional assessments. Is that correct?
Well, the mitigation is dictated by the type of wetland there is. Wetlands that have a very high value, such as vernal pools, do have a higher mitigation ratio that's assigned to them.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, next we're going to call on Patrick DeArmy. Patrick, I'm going to unmute you. Please feel free to unmute yourself and ask your questions.
All right, thanks for taking my question. I was looking at the screening report, and it says that this is located in the Gunpowder watershed, but then it says the Tier 2 impacts are in Otter Point Creek. And are those the same watersheds or different watersheds? I thought Otter Point Creek was in the Bush River watershed.
So Otter Point Creek is actually a catchment area for Tier 2, and you are correct. There is a portion of the impacts are within the Bush River. The majority in phase 1 are within the Gunpowder. So it's a very small portion for phase 1 that is actually within the Tier 2 catchment area.
Okay, so then presumably as it moves north, it would enter more into the Tier 2.
Correct.
That's the phasing.
Watershed, or the Otter Point Creek water catchment area. The boundaries of that are really it's bound by loosely. I want to predicate it with that, between 152 and just north of the 24 interchange.
Okay, thank you. And then regarding the question I was just asked about functional assessments, is that included in the information that's made available to the public on MDE's website?
I'm going to have to check to make sure that the wetland report is on the website and contains that information. Erin, could you answer that one?
Layla, this is Emily Dolbin. We do not currently have the wetland reports shown on the MDE website.
Like the delineation reports?
Correct. They are not on the website at the moment.
Is that something that could be made available, or either by request or put on the website for everyone? We can get back to me on that. You don't have to decide right now.
I believe so, but I should check with my supervisor. But I do believe it can be requested, but hopefully we can just post it to the website. But I will get back to you on that.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. And those were my questions.
Thank you so much, Patrick. I'm next going to call on Mr. Philip McCall. Philip, I have unmuted you, and please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hi, good evening. My name is Philip McCall. I'm a resident of the Abingdon, Maryland area. And one of the questions, or a couple of comments and questions I have regarding this project, are one, what kind of penetration mitigations are going to be made for the bridge extensions over the Gunpowder River and the Little Gunpowder along I-95 in this project area? And additionally, two, what are the methods of the state to ensure that dirty water runoff, stormwater runoff, murky water runoff are being controlled by the amount of increased impervious surface of I-95. There's no evident area of design on any of these prints available to the public this evening on this forum to observe any of the stormwater management controls you're planning on putting in, or where the excess water discharge from I-95 surface area is going to be impounded or otherwise displaced. In addition to that, the earlier warnings or notifications of this particular meeting tonight for public input have not provided a reasonable number of individuals to be aware that this meeting was occurring this evening. So, I-95 express whole lane expansion, there need to be some type of billboards for this project. I mean, I know the state's got multiple web interfaces, but drivers using these interstate systems and some of the benefits or lack of benefits that this project particularly is affording the commuters is not well accessible or easily found through other channels besides, getting on and trying to do a Google search and then finding 4 different ways of trying to get this information that may not concisely or clearly orate or communicate it. So I think this project in particular needs to have some kind of public signage in a reasonable form on the side of the freeway so that people using this get a better access to the information and understanding of it. Lastly, I want to know, and this is not an MDE question, but overall project designer questions. What's going to be done long term about the users of the ETL lanes who get on the ETL lane and then find themselves stuck behind 2 cars going the exact same speed in the ETL, which is driving at a speed slower than the posted speed limit on regular I-95, and then having to pay for that traffic because they got stuck behind slow drivers. That effectively mitigates the whole purpose of this project. If you're putting these lanes in, lane control needs to be a consideration of this project.
Okay, to start with addressing your environmental questions, I'm going to need some help by others to address some of the other issues you've raised. But with respect to the Big and the Little Gunpowder Falls, we actually did a bunch of analysis and redesign to make those completely clear spans. So there is not going to be any disturbance from new piers. And as a matter of fact, we're actually removing the old piers out. So it's going to be an overall benefit to the waterway. Yeah, the waterway. With respect to runoff and stormwater management, Maryland has regulations which require what's called environmental site design, where you have, instead of a big pond, big stormwater basin, now you're treating runoff in very small increments throughout the corridor and adjacent to where the impervious surfaces are. So then you actually have to implement these, what's called to the maximum extent practicable. So you will actually hear mention of ESD, and that is a mechanism where you have the maximum benefit of stormwater management or stormwater treatment, and also discharge to any receiving waters is kept below any kind of erosive velocity.
Okay.
Did that help with your environmental questions?
Some of it. Will those same impacts be addressed when the bridge extensions are completed at Winter's Run, which is related to part of this project?
That it will be throughout the corridor. I can't speak, I apologize, because Winter's Run is actually in a separate phase. And I'm not sure about whether it's a clear span or not, but the ESD to the MMP, yes, that is going to be implemented throughout the corridor.
Okay, and my last question is, so what you're essentially saying is that all stormwater management controls will be on the highway level and none of the stormwater discharge will occur into the waterways?
Anything that's discharged into the waterways is going to be treated.
By what methods of treatment? Is that just through slow percolation filtration?
That's
Or is
through these ESD practices. So no, some are in series, some are bioswales. There can be some micro detention ponds, but that's how the state of Maryland has kind of transitioned from these large stormwater management basins, separated, that where there's collection of all of this water and then discharge. Now it's on this kind of very smaller scale, which
okay.
is found to be much more effective for improving water quality.
Okay, and my final question, moving on from that, is also what is the offset for the migratory bird habitat loss that may be occurring with the removal of the screening trees along the environmental buffers on the shoulder and in the median that are being paved over by this?
By the migratory bird habitat, do you mean forest interior dwelling species?
Yes. Any bird species that may be nesting in the tree lines that are, in the median way between Route 43 and 152, where the highway is currently wide grass median with tree line, or in the area along the shoulder on the outboard side between the proposed sound wall or partially completed sound walls and the proposed expansion area. Is there going to be any replanting of trees to offset the loss of the existing woodland areas that are
Okay,
encroaching on the shoulders?
Yes, there is going to be replanting of trees. Just like the streams, we're trying to do as much on site as possible. We do have a requirement through Maryland DNR to meet the reforestation law. So there, like I said, as much that can be done on site is being done on site, and other areas of MDTA owned property are going to be planted to mitigate that forest loss.
Okay, my one follow-up question is how much of what is the percentage of on-site replanting versus what is being proposed for replanting in the Owings Mills area as an offset of this project for mitigations?
Oh, I don't have that number off the top of my head. So,
I think that particular number, because this work is occurring in the Baltimore and Harford County corridors, would be a good number to make sure it's publicized for public input and consideration prior to any further extension of this work, being undertaken and proceeding to the construction phase. Because without knowing exactly what we're losing in our area and seeing it offset to other issues in the Owings Mills corridor for other MDTA projects, I think it doesn't fairly represent to the public the opportunity for proper consideration of this project. So,
okay, like I said, I am going to have to get back to you with the numbers that you've requested. But there is a large planting area off of Rathville Road, and also a planting area in Days Cove. We're also looking at an area in Willoughby Beach.
very good. What part of is that Willoughby Beach along the Bush River that's being identified?
I believe so.
And will those replantings abide by some kind of a long-term forest or woodland reconservation standards to ensure that the habitat's not mitigated in the future for other projects?
No, if it is, anything that gets disturbed would have to be mitigated for. That's just state law. And I should mention that the Willoughby Beach is also within the Tier 2 watershed. So some of the reforestation that's necessary for Tier 2 regulations will be achieved there.
Okay. Now, obviously, the Bush River's got a substantial impairment from sediment runoff, so that, you know, would be a benefit to assurance of conservation practices are implemented there as well. Thank you for your time.
Okay, so next, and bear with us and thank you for your patience. Next, I'm going to unmute Rose Anderson. Thank you so much for your patience. We are trying to address hands raised and your questions in the question boxes. So Rose, I'm going to unmute you. Please make sure you're unmuted at your end and feel free to ask your questions.
Yeah, thank you. First of all, can I get a copy of this map? I couldn't find it online.
I believe the map is on the ETL website, but if it's not, we'll make sure it's up there.
Okay, all right, great. So I live on what they call Old Forge Road, and I'm trying to look at the map as it's on the screen. My concern is for whether or not any existing Jersey walls are going to be removed, because I have one of those that runs directly along my property. And if that were to be removed, that would be a significant disturbance of soil, and a lot of trees would have to be cut down for that. Do you know if part of the plan is removing any existing walls?
On the northbound side,
Excuse me?
on the northbound side, probably yes. Are you, what side of the 95 are you on?
I am on the northbound side, and I'm on Old Forge Road, which is farther north than where we're looking on the map here.
Yeah, this is just a rolling PowerPoint, so we can't stop it right now. But when we do the regular, when we were widening, they will remove any existing Jersey barrier there. In order to do the widening, then they'll reconstruct that Jersey barrier. There's some areas where we'll be putting retaining walls in, and also others where we have retaining walls and noise walls on top of retaining walls as we go further north. And that's just to avoid additional right-of-way impacts and environmental impacts.
I'm looking at the map that's on the screen now, and the northbound side doesn't appear to be marked with any wall project.
There are currently no walls planned for this section north of New Forge along the northbound side.
Okay, well, okay, so that's where I am then. So this wouldn't affect me, at least in terms of the walls. I live on the northbound side, just south of the bridge.
Just south of Big Gunpowder?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. I mean, again, there'll be widening, but there will not be any noise walls put up, and there may be, new barrier or retaining walls put up, depending on the topography.
Okay, but we don't know if they're going to remove the existing Jersey wall.
Along the shoulder area or along the outside edge, I believe they will be removed.
There's a forest buffer between the Jersey wall and the highway, so they would have to come maybe, I don't know, at least 25 feet up to remove the Jersey wall, which is then 25 feet from my property, I believe.
All right.
25 foot easement.
I'd have to take a look at it. It sounds it's probably a retaining wall, then, not a Jersey wall. So I'd have to. I mean, I would be happy to come out and look at it, but without knowing exactly where it is, I'm having a tough time knowing exactly what's going to transpire there. But we can certainly follow up with you.
Yeah, I would love that. How would I go about contacting you, or do you have my information already?
If you go onto the website, you can ask a question via the website, and then those are usually funneled to me, Dave Greenwood, and then I
Okay.
can respond. Fine.
All right, I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Sure, no problem.
Rose, thank you so much for your comment. We're getting short on time, so the next person I'm going to call on is Elizabeth Schrader, and thank you so much for your patience. Elizabeth, I've unmuted you. Please feel free to make your comments and ask your questions.
Hi, thank you so much for taking my question. I am a estuary ecologist and I live in this area. And my biggest question for this whole project has to do with mitigation for the impacted wetlands. It seems as if many of the, at least some of the wetland mitigation strategies are moving those mitigations to other watersheds in other parts of the county. And that doesn't seem like an ecologically appropriate way to mitigate the impacts. So can you speak to the reasons why those wetland mitigations are being moved to other parts of the county when the watersheds, subwatersheds, and ecosystems that are being impacted are right here in the Gunpowder and Bush rivers?
Okay, so I think I mentioned earlier, we did an exhaustive site search. We really did, and tried first, as always, you want to mitigate on site and in kind wherever you can. And then we have to go off site. We did work with Baltimore County, Harford County, and the state and federal regulatory agencies to try to find appropriate sites. And there were many challenges. A, there weren't a lot of sites out there. And B, there were some sites that we just couldn't work on because, for instance, they were purchased with program open space funds. One of the requirements is we have to have a conservation easement or a deed of restricted covenants placed on any mitigation site that's being used for, compensatory mitigation at either the state or federal level. And you can't do that with program open space. So we started, our focus was very narrow on the corridor, and we just had to keep on going out. There were some sites that we looked at that dropped out for various reasons. We looked at all of the sites for the the small watershed action plans within Harford County. They weren't feasible. We also contacted Baltimore County and tried to identify opportunities there. And you're probably aware as an ecologist, by the way, that's actually my background, is estuarine science as well. A lot of the sites are being earmarked to meet TMDL requirements. So we did try. We tried very hard, and wherever possible, we did say on-site stream relocation, and making sure that the relocated stream was in a better condition than the existing stream. And like I said, we went out from there. Does that help?
Yes, thank you for that explanation. I just wanted to do a quick follow-up that had to do with monitoring for chlorides and for salination. Adding extra lanes of roadway is certainly going to have more impervious surface that in our Maryland weather is going to be treated for, ice and snow and those kinds of things. Are the mitigation areas being monitored for salination since we are adding additional lanes of traffic and impervious surface in that area?
Any runoff gets treated again through these environmental site design practices, which are implemented again to the maximum extent practicable. So the runoff is being treated before it's discharged into any receiving waters. as to monitoring, typically there isn't monitoring of stormwater discharges. So I hope that helps too.
Yes, thank you. That does clarify.
Okay, thank you. We're coming short in time, so I want to call on Tho. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. I have unmuted you. Please ask your question. We're running very short in time, and I know there are a couple of other hands raised. If you type your questions in the question box, we will be addressing those and getting back to you. We have them on record, and we will contact you privately, or we will contact you after tonight's session. So please make your comments or ask your questions.
Thank you, and I wanted to thank folks at MDE for holding this hearing. And my question relates to NEPA review documents on this project. After searching MTA's website, I found there was a note related to the NEPA review docs are internal, and was wondering if you could explain that or give me a sense of whether they'll be available on MDE's website in the future without having to go through a Public Information Act request. Thank you.
Hi, Theo. This is Adrienne Metzbauer. I'm not sure where you're seeing the note about NEPA documents not being available, but the NEPA documents for this project are on MDTA's website. It's under the Section 200 website. Both the environmental assessment and the finding of no significant impact are available on that website. And I have your email, so I can send you a direct link to where that's available. Or if you just do a Google search for I-95 Section 200 FONSI, F-O-N-S-I, it'll take you there to that page.
Thank you. That's very helpful.
Okay, so thank you so much. This has gone a little over time, and we are getting ready to go into the actual hearing itself. All of the questions that you have posted in the chat box will be reviewed tomorrow and looked at, and we will reach out to each of you individually. At this stage, I'm going to pass the baton over to the next person who is taking over the public hearing, as I'm just tech support. So thank you all. Amanda, take it away.
Okay, thank you. Good evening. I would like to welcome everyone to the State of Maryland Department of the Environment's virtual public informational hearing for the proposed permit modification for Phase 1 of the I-95 Express Toll Lanes Section 200 Improvements Project. My name is Amanda Sigalito, and I am the Chief of the Non-Tidal Wetlands Division at the Maryland Department of the Environment, the department. I will be the presiding official for this evening's public informational hearing. Also in attendance with me from the department are Emily Dolbin, Project Manager for the Wetlands and Waterways Program, Steve Hurt, Project Manager for the Wetlands and Waterways Program, Bill Seeger, Chief of the Waterway Construction Division, and Jeff Thompson, Chief of the Central Region of the Non-Tidal Wetlands Division. I would like to thank everyone for taking the time to participate in the public comment process for this project. It is the responsibility of my office to evaluate applications that propose impacts to non-tidal wetlands and waterways. The department's authority is found in subtitles 5 and 9 of the Environment article. Each application received through our regulatory program has specific and unique issues and impacts that must be considered in relationship to weighing the potential benefits and detriments of the project. The department is neither a proponent nor opponent of any project. The logistics for this evening's hearing are as follows. I will make a few opening remarks about the purpose of the public informational hearing and briefly list the project impacts. I will then call on the Maryland Transportation Authority for the applicant's statement regarding their project. After these required presentations, the department will facilitate public statements by first calling on any elected officials or their representatives to make a statement. I will then call on those of you who indicated that you wish to speak. It is not necessary to read a statement to make it part of the official record. Written comments will also be accepted and receive the same consideration as any oral statement. In fact, for accuracy, if you have a letter to read into the record, I suggest you also provide us with a copy of the letter. We do not permit cross-examination of the speakers during their presentations, but you may pose questions as part of your statement for our consideration in our permit evaluation. Please note that we will not be responding to questions or comments posed this evening. This venue is for the department to hear and record your public comments. This public informational hearing is being recorded and the transcript will be used to facilitate the final permit decision. At this time, I would like to acknowledge any elected officials who may be present with us this evening. If you are an elected official or representing an elected official, please raise your hand. Okay, I don't think I see any hands raised. Thank you.
I don't see any.
Thank you. The department is conducting this evening's public informational hearing pursuant to subsection 5-204 of the Environment Article and Code of Maryland Regulations 2623-0202 and 2617-0413. The purpose of this public informational hearing is for the applicant to present an analysis of impacts that may be associated with the proposed activity. I would like to emphasize that the purpose of this public informational hearing is to consider the permit application pending before the department. There may be a number of additional concerns related to issues that are beyond the scope of this particular hearing. I would like to have this hearing remain focused on issues associated with the non-tidal wetlands and waterways permit application. This public informational hearing is for the proposed modification to the non-tidal wetlands and waterways permit number 18-NT-0086/2018-60368, submitted by the Maryland Transportation Authority. The application requests authorization for the following Section 200 improvements located on I-95 from Maryland 43 to Maryland 24 in Baltimore and Harford counties. A revised fence line along I-95 from Maryland 152 to Maryland 24 in Harford County, an increase in the limits of disturbance at the Raphael Road intersection, Baltimore County, full replacement of bridges over Big and Little Gunpowder Falls in Baltimore and Harford counties, various design changes to erosion and sediment control and stormwater management in Baltimore and Harford counties, transferring a portion of the work from the Section 100 project from Cowantown Road to New Forge Road that has not been constructed but permitted previously, and 2 non-compliant noise walls along I-95 northbound and southbound in Baltimore County. The modification results in permanent impacts to 81,405 square feet of forested non-tidal wetland, 1,135 square feet of shrub non-tidal wetland, 29,868 square feet of non-tidal emergent wetland, 420 square feet to vernal pools, 282,816 square feet to the 25-foot non-tidal wetland buffer, 2,105 linear feet of perennial stream, 4,218 linear feet of intermittent stream, and 193,262 square feet to the 100-year non-tidal floodplain. Additionally, the project proposes the following temporary impacts: 19,160 square feet of forested non-tidal wetland, 10,363 square feet of emergent non-tidal wetland, 42,618 square feet to the 25-foot non-tidal wetland buffer, 721 linear feet to perennial stream, and 596 linear feet of intermittent stream, and 34,653 square feet of the 100-year non-tidal floodplain. The mitigation requirement is for 196,208 square feet of non-tidal wetland and 3,714 linear feet of stream. The proposed mitigation will be provided both on-site and off-site at the following locations: White Marsh Run Mitigation Site, southeast of US 40 between Ebenezer Road and Reams Road in Baltimore County, Eccleston Mitigation Site adjacent to Green Spring Valley Road and Park Heights Avenue in Baltimore County, and WUS 18A on-site mitigation site located along I-95 southbound in Harford County. I will now ask the representatives for the Maryland Transportation Authority to make a presentation, and if you could start by please giving us your name.
Brian, you're muted. I can't hear you. I
can't either.
Brian, I'm sorry we can't hear you.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Now we can.
This is Dave Greenwood. I'm not sure what's going on with Brian. Why don't I start things off and take over?
Thank you.
Sure. The I-95 northbound extension is managed and funded by the Maryland Transportation Authority. MDTA is responsible for activities related to all, let me just put my camera on here, that might help. MDTA is responsible for all activities related to all toll facilities in the state, including the I-95 express toll lanes. All MDTA projects and services are funded through toll dollars. MDTA seeks to improve the quality of life and create time for the customers they serve by delivering premium transportation alternatives and providing a safer, faster, and more reliable driving experience. Contact information for the project management team is included on this slide, including the project email address, which is I-95 ETL North NB at mdta.maryland.gov. This email is monitored closely to ensure that messages and feedback are directed to the appropriate team members. Tonight, I will be joined by Dave Greenwood and Layla Lang in presenting the materials. Mike Rothenheber could not make it. He had a family emergency. Tonight, we will be on slide 3, thank you. Tonight, we will provide an overview of the I-95 ETL northbound extension program, present design changes that impact phase 1 permit, and provide an overview of the proposed mitigation locations. The purpose of the I-95 northbound extension program is to address capacity and safety needs on I-95 and thereby improve access, mobility, and safety for local, regional, and interregional traffic, including passenger freight and transit vehicles. The proposed improvements will address the needs for capacity and safety that are seen most clearly at the existing ETL terminus north of Maryland 43 and at the high volume diverge movement at the Maryland 24 interchange. Improvements along I-95 corridor will provide congestion relief and reduce travel times, improve safety for vehicles on the corridor, and improve the quality of life of motorists and residents in the project area. The proposed improvements on Main Line 95 include the addition of 2 express toll lanes adjacent to the existing 4-lane northbound roadway. These lanes will be added by a combination of widening into the existing median and outside widening where an inside median does not exist. Construction improvements in phase 1 is ongoing and will be completed through multiple construction contracts. What you see on your screen is a map of phase 1 of implementation, with each contract shown in a different color. This approach of breaking the program into smaller contracts allows MDTA to minimize disruption for drivers and provide a safe condition for both motorists and workers. To date, several construction contracts have been completed, several are underway, and more construction contracts are scheduled to begin this year. Construction of phase 1 improvements is expected to be complete in 2024. Ongoing design efforts have resulted in changes to wetlands and waterway impacts. We will address each and then discuss the overall changes in the permit. The ETL lanes, which currently end just past Maryland 43, were built as part of a project known as Section 100. Section 100 originally included road widening up to New Forge Road and 2 noise walls between East Joppa Road and New Forge Road. However, this work was deferred to phase 1 of the current ETL program. Since the Section 100 wetland permit was granted, additional wetlands and streams have been delineated in this area, and changes in stormwater regulations have resulted in additional proposed impacts. Maryland Department of the Environment and the U.S. Corps of Engineers have directed MDTA to transfer the impacts associated with the deferred Section 100 work to the phase 1 wetland permit. You can see here the proposed road widening and express toll lane construction in blue, as well as part of the southbound noise wall. Here you can see the remainder of the 2 Section 100 noise walls and the widening south of New Forge Road. Work shown from New Forge northward was previously included in the phase 1 wetland permit. Within the phase 1 project, several design changes have occurred since the permit was previously granted, which have resulted in increased impacts. Previously, MDTA planned to widen the bridge over Big Gunpowder Falls to accommodate the additional lanes while leaving the original bridge in place. However, MDTA has determined that the bridge requires a full replacement, requiring increased stream impacts. In addition, the proposed emergency vehicle access ramps at the Raphael Road overpass has resulted in an increase in the limits of disturbance, impacting additional wetlands. MDTA has also planned to widen the bridge over Little Gunpowder Falls while leaving the original bridge in place, but again has determined that the bridge requires full replacement, increasing stream and floodplain impacts. Additionally, throughout the main roadway widening project, small increases in impacts to streams have occurred due to revisions to the erosion and sediment control and stormwater management required to meet state regulations and protect downstream waters. Minor revisions to the fence line along I-95 from Maryland 152 to Maryland 24 have also resulted in slight increases to wetland and wetland buffer impacts. Layla Lang now will provide an overview in the changes of impacts and the required mitigation.
Thanks, Dave. So Dave provided a summary of the design changes that triggered the need for modification of the phase 1 authorization. Overall revised impacts and mitigation totals can be seen along with the change from the previously permitted totals. Impacts that have increased are color-coded in yellow, while impacts that have decreased are color-coded in blue. Increases in impacts are primarily due to the addition of the Section 100 impacts to the phase 1 permit. As Dave mentioned, this is due to the overlap of the KH 3009 contract with the limits for authorizations associated with Section 100 and Section 200. Decreases in impact occurred due to avoidance and minimization, deferral of work to the Phase 2 ETL permit, or removal from the ETL program altogether. The information on this slide is being provided at the request of the party. Impacts that are presented are impacts requiring mitigation. Self-mitigating impacts are not included. Most of the impacts of wetlands occur within Baltimore County, and wetland mitigation requirements are being specified within Baltimore County. Stream impacts occur within both Baltimore County and Harford County, and mitigation for these impacts will occur in both counties. All of the proposed mitigation sites can be seen on this slide. All 3 mitigation sites are located within the Gunpowder Patapsco watershed, whose boundary is outlined in pink on the inset map. Mitigation being performed at these sites will offset all wetland and stream impacts associated with the Phase 1 improvements. White Marsh Run is a stream and wetland site just outside the project area, originally intended to mitigate impacts for Section 100. This site will provide 147,306 square feet of wetland mitigation credits. WUS 18A is a stream restoration site within the project area located near Little Gunpowder Falls. Restoration of this stream reach will provide 630 linear feet of stream mitigation credits. Finally, the Eccles site is a stream and wetland mitigation site located near Owings Mills. This site will provide 1,571 linear feet of stream mitigation credits and 48,902 square feet of wetland mitigation credits. At this point, I'll turn the hearing back to MDE.
Thank you. We will now call on those of you who would like to make a statement tonight. Please click on the raised hand button on your screen. When we unmute you, please start by clearly stating your name and any interest which you may be representing. Speakers representing a group or organization are allotted 5 minutes to make their remarks, and individuals are allotted 3 minutes for their remarks.
This is Bill Seeger. I guess I'll kick it off. The first hand I saw raised was Jonathan Goff. So I think, Kate, you might be able to help me out if I just unmute him. Do I have the?
That is correct. I have unmuted Bill, and I know he's been waiting for quite some time to speak. So,
I'm not
Bill,
sure I
you're
can.
unmuted. Feel free to read your statement into the record.
Am I unmuted?
Yes, you are. We can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, good. How's everybody doing? I hope good. My concern, I'm in Harford County, so my concern is, okay, the Gunpowder River, how much of the wetlands and how much of the, are you guys going to put in sediment ponds anywhere just for stormwater runoff before it reaches the creeks and the streams? And secondly, will this affect the Gunpowder over towards the Mariners Point area? Because I'm not sure, I haven't seen too much on the runoff area of the Mariners Point part of the Gunpowder River. And secondly, can we have copies of that project sent to me so I can bring this forth to the next Harford County meeting? And I put my email address on there. If you could send that to my email address, that way I can, let everybody in Harford County know what's going on, because I was informed of this meeting and this hearing from other organizations that maintain and take care of the gunpowder. So, and myself included. So if you could send me what you got, and I'll present this to Harford County and let everybody know what's going on in Harford County. And then, like I said, is this going to affect the Mariners Point region?
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Bill, I think Kate saw you even before, so sorry I usurped your position there, but if you want to go ahead, please, you're unmuted from my point of view.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes.
Okay. This was
Could you
sort
take
of,
your name, please?
his question was similar. It seems to me there's significant downriver potential for mitigation from I-95. It's not all, some of it's tidal, some of it's non-tidal, but mostly it's non-tidal. And Foster Run seems to be the best one you can look at. But there's also a little section of the little gunpowder where there can be, with a little bit of work, you can probably undo some of the problems you're going to do just by, I don't know, you keep saying you're going to store all the water, and I've seen that hasn't been shown on any map I've seen so far.
Thank you.
The next I saw, I think in order, is Philip McCall. I'm going to unmute you from at least my point of view.
Good evening. My name is Philip McCall of Abingdon, Maryland, and my message for Maryland Department of the Environment for this project is the following, and I read a prepared statement. I request that local mitigation of the project seek further evaluation and locate potential mitigation within the same sub-watershed of the project to protect the on-site and downstream existing and designated uses of the following: Bird River, gunpowder, little and large, or big gunpowder, Lower Renner's Run, and Bush River watersheds. Respectfully request that MDE require real-time monitoring of sediment control and pollutant monitoring on the project site to protect downstream water quality at all times during the scope of the project. Furthermore, require that stormwater discharges of the project comply with local bay pollution diet and protect watershed downstream impaired waterways, and consider the mitigating stream channel impacts and the off-site mitigation as failure to answer the potential for localized downstream impacts. Lastly, my request of MDE is to provide an extension to the comment period of this project for public and other entity consideration, including myself, who have not been able to fully review the materials to make an informed comment. This meeting's notice to the public has been failed to provide a meaningful ability for other individuals of the local population to provide a meaningful and robust participation in the comment and hearing process.
Thank you.
Next, I have Aaron and Inez Culver. You?
Take it off.
It is. Oh, okay, you can hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay, thank
Yes,
you.
you can.
What we want is that, we see where you stopped the wall, which doesn't stretch to our property. It's already extremely loud noise here. And you stopped the wall on one and then you picked it back up after 152. And we're in between where Bradshaw, where you built the bridge, where you redid the bridge. I'm sorry, not built, but redid the bridge. and the noise is unbearable. When you did the test about 4 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, I can't remember, might have been longer than that, it wasn't that much traffic. Now everyone many people have moved out to Harford County. We have accidents there. 95 is filled with accidents almost constantly, and so the noise. And I know it was said no one's going to walk across our property from 95. My family's had this property since the 1800s. We've had, before that, yes, it took years for the trees and everything to grow up so people won't walk over here anymore, because they would use the phone. Now people have cell phones, I understand. But when you move everything now, they're going to walk. We already have it now where you didn't close off Bradshaw. People drive off of 95 as a shortcut for the traffic. We want someone, well, among other things that we sent in, but right now what you're discussing, the other things are personal that we've sent in. But we want someone to come back out, to review again, to listen to the traffic, because we know that we need a sound wall. We already have professionals to come out. We can't even sit in our house, and we even bought a sound system. It's too loud. So if you could send someone out now, since that's what you're trying to start a project, because when the test, I think it was like 7 years ago, the noise is too much. But the traffic, we have people all the time walking over now, they're dumping stuff continually. It's tough. So is that possible? Thank you.
We've noted your comment. Thank you.
I don't see any other hands raised, Amanda.
Okay. All right. Well, before I move forward with closing the hearing, I'll give everyone a chance to make a comment. Would anyone like to make a comment before we move to close the hearing and explain where we go from here?
I saw Theo raise his hand first, so let me unmute you, Theo.
Okay.
Hi, can you hear me all right?
Yes, we can. Please go ahead with your comment.
Okay, thank you all. So my name's Theo Lagarder. I serve as the Gunpowder River Keeper. We have about 413 members currently through the Bush and Gunpowder watershed. And I would like to request an extension of the comment period, primarily because we'd like to have time to review the initial FONSI, and also that we haven't been able to find, but I know that where to look for it now, certainly. But as it relates to MDE permitting, we are concerned about offsite mitigation on this project, particularly because we have 26 species of fish downstream that are anadromous, and we're certainly concerned about wetland and waterway impacts and the drainage aspect of the catchment. I'm also interested in reviewing the wetlands delineation before we provide written comment. And so those are reasons that I'd like to, state to have MDE consider an extension of the comment period. The other overwhelming concern that I have currently is that if these modifications primarily related to total bridge replacements would have affected the FONSI, because I gather the initial FONSI likely did not have bridge replacements, in play. So thank you, and look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you.
Philip McCall, you also have your hand raised.
My last comment for the state in regards to this project is that there would be a benefit to consideration of traffic speed lane control in both I-95 and the express toll lanes regarding the impoundment of traffic behind two vehicles riding side by side, affording nobody the benefit of going faster with the ETLs, because you can't go pass the traffic that's driving slower than I-95 while we pay for the fees to use this traffic area. And you could save a substantial amount of air emissions by considering traffic lane control and speed control in the ETLs.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to make a comment?
I see one raised. Brian, I'll unmute you.
Thank you. And this isn't specific to the broader, it's actually concerning a very specific component, the sound wall. And this may not be the correct forum to ask it, but I'm trying to get more information around the plan for that development, where it's starting, and just a bit more detail. So is there a contact information I can get to reach out to after this session to learn more about that?
Could you please give us your name for the record and we'll have someone get back to you?
Sure, Brian Breerwood.
Okay, thank you.
And I see Patrick DeArmy, you still have your, there it is. It went away for a second. Let me unmute you. I'm having an issue being able to, can you unmute him, Kate?
How about now?
That works.
He's unmuted. We're good.
Thank you.
Yes, this is Patrick DeArmy, and I am here. I forgot to mention this earlier. I'm here on behalf of the Gunpowder Riverkeeper. I just had a comment about and question about the Tier 2 impacts and whether or not that needs to be publicly noticed. And the other concern would be how this project implicates into the State Highway Administration's MS4 and the TMDL allocations for the MS4 and for the State Highway Administration and for the counties that this is located in. So those are my comments. Thanks for having the public hearing this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Is there anyone else who'd like to make a comment?
Let me expand my, I think Bill, 10 minutes.
Hi, just want to reemphasize, we haven't had time to review all the documents, so if you could extend the time, that would be helpful.
All right, thank you.
And Elizabeth Schrader.
Thank you. I just wanted to make a comment to follow up some of the things I was told earlier, that specifically that stormwater management and stormwater mitigation aren't subject to regular monitoring. And I'm curious to know to whom I should address my concerns about that, because stormwater is a major issue in our area. Climate change is only making that more of an issue. And I'd like to know how these kinds of projects factor into that and what kind of citizen science or science in general is around not monitoring stormwater.
All right, thank you. All right, are there any other hands raised?
Not that I see currently.
All right. All right. Well, if there are no other hands raised, I will explain where we go from here. The formal hearing record will remain open for 2 weeks or until 5 p.m. on Thursday, March 18, 2021. I have heard your comments about extending the comment period, and I am leaning towards giving a 2-week extension, which would take us to April 1st, 2021, which is Thursday. That information will be put on our website probably by tomorrow. Unless there are extenuating circumstances justifying extension of time, the department is obligated to issue, modify, or deny the permit within 30 days of the close of the informational hearing record, which would be actually in mid to late April, around April 19, 2021. The department's decision and accompanying information will be sent to the interested persons list as well as to the applicant. The department's decision will be a final agency determination. There will be no further opportunity for administrative review. Any person with standing who is either the applicant or who participated in the public participation process through the submission of written or oral comments may petition for judicial review in circuit court. The petition for judicial review must be filed within 30 days of the publication of the permit decision. The Department of the Environment appreciates your interest in this project and thanks you for attending the hearing this evening. The hearing is now adjourned. I do want to add that we did receive requests tonight for some information to be made available on our website, and we will get those reports loaded onto our website. Thank you.